The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, offering Co-op Advantage checking with cash back on all purchases, plus secure debit card controls, all from the UMass 5 mobile banking app. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, ires and affections rain down upon us as word nerd Emily Brewster walks us through the history and etymology of smite, smote, and smitten.
But first, cows and steer, and bulls and calves also, at a farm in Granby that has turned its focus to one breed of beef cattle with incredibly stunning bone structure.
So all of our cattle are registered Texas Longhorns, except one. We have Sunday, who's a Black Angus. James, our youngest, wanted to have Santa bring him an Angus heifer for Christmas. So that's
hard to get those things down the chimney.
Yeah, exactly. So it's funny, we put a little bit of glitter on her and put her out in the pasture and explained that Santa had to bring her a bit early because she couldn't fit in the sleigh.
You could pull the sleigh.
This feels like Jurassic Park.
I know, right? So there's this giant UTV, which I'm assuming is an ultra ATV. And it's time for another local hero spotlight with Claire Morneau from CISA, the local hero folks.
It's a utility, probably.
Utility terrain vehicle. And that is Charlotte Cody, who is going to drive us out to see the Texas Longhorn here in Granby. But first, quail.
Why quail?
These are just because
They're
the
beautiful.
same thing that Santa brought an Angus. So you just have to hold them pretty tight because they jump pretty quickly.
You just grabbed that quail
Yep,
tight.
just hold on to it. Yep.
Khalees has got the quail.
They're really cute.
So interestingly enough, you can order fertilized eggs on eBay. These ladies have all come from Staten Island.
They're like the Wu-Tang clan of quail.
Started off on the island, AK Shallon.
And this
There it goes.
Yep, just grab her tight. Yep.
Hold her tight. Oh, and the dog, here. We don't want the dog to eat the quail. You got it. Yeah, Khalees
We're good now.
recaptured the quail. But look at those eggs.
She's a little panicky.
So they lay eggs just like a chicken does.
They're just used for pets?
Yes.
Yeah.
Pure entertainment. They're
Yeah.
button quail. They have no job on the farm except
Delight.
cute.
Khalees is
We
holding
do
it
make these.
tight.
So James, in the morning when he goes to school, I'll make him an omelet, and I'm like, I made you 32 eggs this morning. It's still just a couple.
I could eat a 32-egg omelet.
I mean, they're real fun to like boil and put in ramen too.
Oh, I
so,
bet,
like,
yeah. They're like
smallest
living chicken
variety.
nuggets.
Yes, exactly.
Often the bones are, I should stop talking about eating quail. They are also very cute.
You don't have to eat them. But quail is not what your farm is all about. What we're looking right
really
next
is.
to the quail on the wall, it looks like 5 Georgia O'Keeffe paintings because there are cattle skulls with giant long horns.
So part of having the Longhorns, now we love it. So it's grown into something that we can show across the country. There's all kinds of events, but there's also a beef program within our registered Longhorn stock. And one thing that we weren't getting out of the Angus or Hereford program that we were doing was we didn't have these beautiful skulls afterwards. So we aim to use absolutely every single piece and part if we're going to go through the beef program. And we love to have people out to come and see these. You'll see them live, but check this out. This is the outer layer of the horn. It's very much like your fingernail.
Talk into it.
Hello.
It's hollow.
Truth be told, I hang out with enough nerds that my immediate thought was, oh, somebody's got to want to put meat in that.
Yeah, I want to drink out of these horns.
So we just had someone recently talking to us about vineyards using these to plant the grape trees into as they start. And
It's a part of biodynamic process of growing grapevines for wine. And whenever you see biodynamic on a grapevine label, they have taken a horn like this and started the
Yeah.
process with it. It sounds very hippie to me, but I ain't gonna knock it.
I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense because, like, bone meal is one of the really good things you can do for your soil anyway. So,
Yeah.
how
There you
cool
go.
would that be? We got to try it.
If Phil Corman was still the head of CISA, he could blow this like a shofar. He's really good at blowing shofar.
So this is the skull. These are the skulls. What we do is on the inside of that horn cap that you're holding, this material would be all the way down to the tip of that horn. When we take the horn caps off, we cut this so that this is just easier to clean and lighter. But it's really interesting because you get to see the anatomy of the longhorns. They don't have any upper anterior teeth. at all. So when they are, it's completely gummy. And I work in dentistry as well, so it's just so interesting to me to see this. They have all their back teeth that they chew on, and they have lower anterior, but no upper anterior. In December, there's a National Twin Day. We didn't know that, and that day would have came and went without, any difference in our day, except we had a first-time mama, and she had twins on National Twin Day. Wow. And going back to the teeth, you'll see them out there because they're just born and they're starting to develop, so all their lower teeth stick out. It's pretty funny.
Oh, cute.
How do they crop then? It's just gnawing and pulling?
They use their front teeth to tear the food and their back teeth to chew the food.
All right, we're going to go. What is a UTV compared to like an ATV? You don't need to know
all-terrain vehicle, right?
Yeah,
that
yeah.
would be
That
your,
one we know.
and then this one would be a utility vehicle.
Okay, cool.
Well, we just use it for tours.
Khalees, you can take shotgun.
No, I want the back.
All right. Oh, yeah, Gracie the dog is coming with us. Who's a good girl?
Not Gracie.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
These are all intact bulls, which means they can all breed. All boys when they're born are a bull, and if you steer them, they can no longer reproduce. He is somebody that we think has the potential to be a herd sire, so he stayed intact, and he's up here because he's actually at a point where he could start breeding, and we don't want that to happen. We do really controlled breeding here because we want to cross genetics properly to get the best outcomes, but also if we start breeding at this time of year, we're going to have winter babies, and we don't want that. Yeah.
That bull is looking at us like he wants to breed. Like he's got some agenda, and he's got huge horns. He's very horny. This is our first ATV ride on the show, so this is a lot of fun. And we are at Cody Cattle Company in Granby with Claire Monroe from CISA. We're gonna look at these Texas Longhorns in the back. How much property do you have that you're raising these cattle?
There's about 65 acres back here. This is a cool pit stop though. Look at there's a beaver dam that was just built up, and the beavers are taking this tree out one bite at a time. Look at how big that tree is though, and imagine these little...
Yeah, it's done a great job at carving that out.
Yeah, they're making good progress.
Yeah.
I think that they're pretty brave. That looks giant. I'm entertained by this. I want to see...
I finally saw the movie Hundreds of Beavers.
It's so good!
It is so good and so funny.
And because they built this huge dam, this water level is now as high as it's ever been.
So the beavers did all this.
Yes.
Leave it to Beaver.
This is the start of our Longhorn program here.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah, these are the youngest.
Oh, there's some little babies.
They're so cute. And they don't have... I was wondering how anything with horns like that could possibly be born. But they don't come out with that.
No, they have little buttons though. We can go in there and check them out closer. I hope you don't have your favorite shoes on.
Nope.
I do, but whatever. So much for my Nike Air Max Atmos 1 Safari
I brought my
pack.
kickers. I knew where we were going.
All right, so part of our program is we really aim to have not just healthy, pretty cows, but we want docile cows. So I feel really safe coming out here with you guys because the cows know me. We handle them every day. This is Alibi here. We take her on the road. She's been to shows in Virginia and Kentucky and such. It's just a really amazing breed. And if you look across the difference in horns, she goes back towards her back. This one goes up and out. We hope that she'll roll over the years. And then the one at the hay ring has a nice tight twisty horns.
Oh yeah, awesome. Like Tim the Enchanter from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
There are some who call me Tim.
Greetings, Tim the Enchanter.
What is special about Longhorn cattle? Why did you choose them? What does it mean to be registered? What's the 101 on them?
Yeah, so I mean, if we had any other breed of cattle, every one of these cows would look the same. We probably wouldn't be so excited about it. For us, the idea that this also could serve the purpose of why we originally started raising cattle, because we're going to have beef on our table. I always will. I just wanted to know where it came from. That was important to me. But my husband absolutely loves the Longhorns, and we realized we could kind of blend this together. As you get to know these cattle and study their genetics, you get to put this cow with that bull in hopes that you can make those horns twist or make a certain color come out or correct a body imperfection and such. So there's just so much to it. To be registered, they have to be branded, and you send out the certificate of paperwork out to the Texas Longhorn Association, and they'll send you back a certificate for them.
How many other folks are growing or raising Texas Longhorns in the Commonwealth? Do you know?
So when we started, we were the one and only, and we were really envious when we went to other states and saw that the breeders all had friends next to them. It's just a great conversation with someone else who knows the genetics and such, or you can share a bull and things like that. So our goal was to bring back the best cattle we could to this area and get as many people involved as we could. And so now there's probably 4 or 5 that have a good size herd and keep growing. And then there's several people who have just a few. They love looking at them. It's like pasture art. You get to go out and look at them and they're gorgeous.
How many do you have total right now?
Sometimes I'd rather someone say, how much do you weigh?
How much do you weigh?
We had 55 and then we had 3 born in the last couple weeks.
And they're so cute.
Yeah. These boys, their mama's name is Rhythm and their dad's name is Higher Ground. So we're kind of working out names, but yesterday my husband started calling them Rhythm and Blues.
Oh, I love that.
But if you look at their
Stevie and Wonder. Higher Ground.
Perfect.
That's better than where I was going. Coming up, the magic of genetics and more as it unfolds in the herd of Cody Cattle Company in Granby and how that plays into the start of the farm itself with owner Charlotte Cody.
And the words that arise in the industry as well, which may also amuse our resident wordster, Emily Brewster, as she digs into the many meanings and storied paths of smite.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, offering solar options, energy security, and solutions for the local community. Learn more at northeast-solar.com. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Window World of Western Mass, a local family business with experienced craftsmen offering vinyl, composite, and James Hardie siding. windowworldofwesternma.com.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. We head back to Granby, where Charlotte Cody of Cody Cattle Company gives us some insight into the coloring of her cattle in her Longhorn herd.
Look at their noses. That's a kind of an exciting thing with the Texas Longhorns is one of them has a bright pink like bubblegum nose and the other one has this black mealy looking stuff on it. The one with the black in his nose, his body will transition color over the first 2 years. Mm-hmm. And he will be all kinds of different colors.
Kind of like the brindle one that with the twisty horns.
Yeah, when she was born, she was as light as a fawn and really boring looking. Like she had nothing. It was just a little tiny light colored cow. And the one to the left of her was a bright white with a red head. And then all this color just comes pouring in over the first 2 years.
So that one way over there has a huge horn span. Is that what you call it? Yeah. What's like the average and what's the kind of longest one that you have going here?
So our one with the most horn has a total horn measurement of 114 inches. Mm-hmm. And then the most common measurement, though, is tip to tip. Like this is Sunshine looking at us right here, and her tip to tip horn measurement, she's about 65 inches on horn, and she's only 3 years old. So she'll continue to grow her whole life, but it'll slow down as she gets older.
That's larger than some people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's larger than my youngest child for sure.
I think that's larger than one of our news editors. Sorry, Liz Ramon.
This cow back here is an interesting story. Whitney, who's looking at us, Whitney's daughter was here. Sabrina, that was my husband's favorite cow. We brought her home. She was doing fantastic, and she actually went into anaphylactic shock, and we lost her in September. So what we did was we reached out to the gentleman, John Helm, who's out in Texas, has a beautiful program of Texas Longhorns, and asked if we could buy Mom. So we did, and then artificial insemination is a big deal because these bulls are all over the country. You buy a straw of semen, you can artificially inseminate and recreate. So we bought Mom and we bought semen from Dad, and we're on a mission to recreate the one we lost.
Sabrina too.
I know.
My name is Sabrina Spellman.
So your farm, you sell beef, that's one of your products, and then you also sell genetics. Is that the other important piece of your business?
It is, yep. So we sell genetics, we'll sell a starting herd. People will want to get involved, and it's really important to us that they have a good experience. Oftentimes you'll hear people say, oh, Texas Longhorns, they're so dangerous. But I'm going to guess we've been in this field for maybe 5 minutes, and I don't think any of you guys look scared or worried that you're going to get hurt. We really strive to also educate people on the process of raising a healthy herd and like maintaining the land and such.
Charlotte, Cody, you helped to revive this as a family farm with your dad, who was also a big part of getting into the Longhorn business.
Yeah, well, when my dad was able to see the first pasture here come to life, and actually we had 2 Longhorns at that time and they weren't registered, and my father was a big Craigslist person and just adventurous. He always wanted to go do something, and his body was starting to fail him, but his mind was still sharp. And him and I were on a Wednesday afternoon. He was spending the day with me. He found this bull because we had these 2 girls, and we're like, okay, we want to breed them. So his idea was we were going to find this bull, grab my husband's truck and trailer, head down to Pennsylvania, come back with this, and nobody was going to know we left and took this 8-hour trip both ways. And so
a height of adventure.
Yeah. So the Craigslist person didn't call back right away. My father, that was on Wednesday or Thursday, and on Tuesday, which was Christmas morning, my dad passed, and he didn't get to see the bull come here and all of that. So there was a lot of emotions. We went through the services and such, and then my phone rings. I honestly can't make this story up. It's Kevin Bond. He's a breeder down in Pennsylvania, and he calls and he says, "Oh, I got your call. I was in the hospital and such." And I think I cried like a 2-year-old because like I need that bull. Like it didn't matter what it looked like. It didn't matter what it did or didn't have. I needed that bull. So we did. We trucked down and got it, and that started our breeding program and introduced us to other registered stock owners and stuff. And we switched our whole program up based on really that trip and whatnot.
What was the program like before then?
We had a mix of beef cattle. So we had some Angus and Hereford and crosses, and genetics weren't a big part of our program because our mission was to raise beef cattle. So this is just, I love this. This is so different, and we get to do the beef, and actually the Longhorn beef is just incredible. The flavor is amazing. There's not a lot of fat, and the fat that's in there just has a different flavor altogether. We have half-pound burgers, and when you cook this half-pound burger, it holds its own. It stays as a half-pound burger. It's pretty impressive.
I don't know if I've ever had Longhorn beef. If you go to Longhorn Steakhouse, they probably don't have Longhorn beef.
No, and I love
Not that I go there, but it's like my only frame of reference for Longhorns besides like a football team.
When people say, like, I don't know if I had it, I have to say, like, you would remember, because it's unique. You'll have to take some burgers home with you to try. It's a different flavor altogether.
You mentioned trying not to get your cows pregnant so that they give birth in the winter. What's dangerous about giving birth in the winter?
We're prepared for it. I mean, this little one right here was born on one of the coldest days, like a day like this. She was just born right over there. We're prepared because the barn is set up. They all have access into the barn and such, and we just create a maternity ward for them. But it's not ideal. We've actually had a tougher time with calves born in the hottest sun in July than we do with the coldest winters. And I think that might be true for all cattle breeds, just because the sun takes a lot out of them.
Yeah.
They're not as lively. They're not getting up for milk to stay warm. They're basking in the sun. You want to go check these guys out over here?
Yeah, let's go meet some more cows. Yeah, Gracie's bored. Come back to me.
Look at her. She's like, it worked.
You got our attention, you good girl.
You thought I was here to herd cows. I'm here to herd people. Y'all need to get out of the pen right now.
This is Winnie. Winnie is a cow that we've had for over 6 years and then sold her to a family up in New Hampshire. And Winnie is down here just to have a date with the bull. And it's funny because the whole Winnie family is here. That's her daughter Annie. That's her son Samson. And she has another daughter out in this pasture here.
Most of the farms that we work with at CISA, they sort of function just within the Northeast region or just within the state or just within their own town, really. But if you're selling genetics, that means your business is national, international. Your connections must be quite broad.
They need to be because the Texas Longhorns are all over the country, just like any breed of cattle. But I think that the Longhorn breed specifically does a great job of focusing on genetics and the shows and a lot of marketing. And if you're doing this to raise beef...
Thank you for making my editing job awesome.
Speaking of Jurassic Park.
That's Winnie.
Doesn't sound like a Winnie to me.
But if you're doing this for beef and you want to be profitable, this is not the breed that you're going to raise. So you have to do other things with this breed to make it makes sense economically. Yeah. That's a poster of Jeremiah. Hubbell's Jeremiah 29:11 is a bull that we own in partnership with 3 other farms. So he spends a few months here, a few months there, and travels. He never sees a New England winter. He goes to Texas and breeds down there, and then he comes up here in the spring and goes home in the fall.
But it's like a banner that you have for him. So it's like a little ad or like a billboard for this bull.
Like a superhero or like a celebrity.
Oh yeah, like a band.
It's great.
Have you gone to see Hubbell's Jeremiah 29:11?
Has Hubbell's Jeremiah come to your field?
He got everyone in the first row pregnant.
But that's what you want.
Yeah, that was a banner that we used at a show called the Horn Showcase. So once a year in Texas, there's a big show, usually between October and November, and all the biggest, longest horned cattle are coming to Texas for their measurements. So when you have your bull there, and in that one there, I think we were selling the semen straws, and you can get heifer sexed or just conventional, and people see your bull displayed, and then they think about their cows at home, and they may want to breed, but we're not shipping Jeremiah to everybody's house or fields. You just sell
Give
the
them
semen
a straw.
straws. Yep.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And I'd assume that heifer sex is just X chromosome, and then conventional is like, well, you get what you get. Good luck.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's some weird band merch, I'm gonna say.
Heifer sex sounds like a really awesome punk band name.
Yeah, totally. Anybody, take these ideas.
Yeah, the lingo that you start rolling off your tongue, and once you're in the industry, it's like I would have never, if you asked me 15 years ago if I'd be talking about this, AI in cows and preg checks and palpations and stuff, I'd be like, no way. And now we're like, where's the gloves?
I made a banner that said Jeremiah Semen Special on it.
It's funny because I actually brought that with me at one of the farmers market things that we did, and I didn't realize that I'm like, oh, this is not the one, and I just whatever, kind of entertained because people were talking.
So it seems like it really is mostly about like a love of this particular breed and expanding the number of people who grow them and the types that are out there.
It really is. I think that we have a unique opportunity too to educate people on owning a farm and how can you, if you love this breed and this breed is not going to be the most economical breed to raise for beef, how can you do this and still make it work? Mm-hmm. The students at UMass came out last year. It was really exciting, the whole bus. And they had questions, and the barn was full of students. And we talked about, like, if you're going into ag, you have to be a really resilient person because you can have everything planned out beautifully, and then the sun doesn't come out, or the sun comes out for too much time, or it rains, or anything in the middle, and everything you plan to do can be completely wiped out. And if you give up easily, farming is just not, it's just not your thing, you know? When we lost Sabrina in September, it was like, okay, we were sad about that, but we needed to like stand up and be like, what are we doing next then? Because we want that genetic, and that cow was amazing, and we did everything we could from a vet standpoint to try to fix it, but we just couldn't. So we're like, okay, let's make that again.
That's the wonders of genetics, I guess. Yeah.
All the cattle at Cody Cattle Company are pretty cute.
But we all know that the cutest ones are the babies, and Charlotte Cody introduces us to some of the calves of the farm and more.
Plus a history lesson with the word nerd on the evolution of smite, smote, and smitten.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413, and welcome back to Granby, where we get even more insight to the allure of Texas Longhorn Cattle at Cody Cattle Company. Texas Longhorn is specifically, I would assume from the name that it's a specifically American breed. No, it's not.
They're imported into our country, and when it was time to like build the railroads and roads and such, this breed in particular did a great job of surviving on their own, which they kind of had to do. One of the things that makes them very easy keepers is their ability to have a calf by themselves. I don't pull calves. We don't get involved in the process. If you see this girl right here, this is by your grace, and see the hip bone sticking out the highest here, and then the furthest one out on her butt. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's her birthing canal. Oh, wow. So those babies are able to come out much easier. And when you see our one Angus, I'll show you, it's different. It's a different shape. So you have to be careful with the size bull, and you have to put a lot of thought into your breeding so that you're not causing a calf. Here's Sunday, look at her. Sundays are Black Angus. Sunday is not pregnant, but she just rocks the pregnant bod all the time.
Been there.
That is her.
She's a big lady.
And it's not easy for her to birth when birthing time comes.
Well, she's a pro, honestly, after the first one. And we always breed her to a Longhorn, so she just doesn't have a problem. Yeah, she always produces a black cow with a nice white line back, very pretty. Some have horns, some don't.
And that was the Christmas present one.
It is, yeah.
Santa's gift.
Santa carried Sunday here. Yeah.
Almost every cow that you've mentioned has come when you've called its name.
Oh, we
Or
do.
perked up.
They do know. Like this is snack station, so they're no dummies. They know that right over here is the snacks, and they would like them. And this guy right here just came up with us on Saturday. We drove down to Maryland to pick him up. He's a power wagon son, so he's a herd sire. He's the only male in this field, and he has a job to get everybody pregnant.
Lucky.
How's he doing?
Yep, pretty good. Well, we'll find out because he just got here on Saturday.
Gotta ease into it.
But he's only a year and a half old, and the horns on him are just tremendous. They're going in the right direction. His body is, you can tell he's a bull by looking at him. And he's very young, too. So we're excited to see what he does. The bulls have a gland right up about here.
On their forehead?
Yeah, and so up near the tops of their sinuses. So when the cows are peeing, see what he's doing right now? He's curling his lip, and he'll tilt his head back to get the urine to go back there so he can tell if she's ready to breed or not.
Oh, wow. By the smell.
Yep.
And then they were butting horns a little bit. That's just playful behavior, or?
Yeah, so when the females are going into heat, there's kind of this cool courtship that goes on between the bull and the cow, and they'll stand side by side for the day or so until she's in a standing heat, and then she'll get pregnant, and then it's over. He'll go find another girlfriend. Yeah. And go into the working pen, so we can measure them in this, we brand them, preg test, all that stuff. Once a year we do a big branding party, and other Longhorn breeders in the area come down with their cattle, and everybody does their branding. We started the branding wall. Right there. Murdoch Farm is the next closest big breeder by us, and that's a really cool story too, is Andy is the youngest, I believe the youngest grandson, definitely into the cattle, and he's got a good Longhorn herd up there as well.
And where are they again?
They're in Winchendon, Mass. Mm-hmm. But he's got some beautiful cows up there, and it's really nice. We travel with them all over the country.
Why is branding a part of the raising process for Texas Longhorns?
You can't register them if they're not branded. You know, there's a lot behind that. Some people say that's just cruel, you shouldn't do that, and it's just a cosmetic thing. There's a breeder that I know in Nevada, and this really set in with me, is all of her cows are branded, they're registered stock. They had such bad fires in her area, they came around and told everybody, open up your gates and get out of there. So you need to open those gates and let all those cows go. And without a brand, the cows are they're herd animals. So they're gonna find each other and they're gonna go hang out, whether it's the cows that they've been cooped up with or if it's somebody else's cows, they're all gonna be together. And it really is a way to identify that animal. And we keep things as quick and easy as possible, but we do brand them. And every one of them has registration papers that holds their branding and identifying marks on it. And they're all DNA tested as well, because DNA, I think the DNA testing is really important when you start getting into the higher value cows. There was a steer named Bucklehead, and Bucklehead was given to these kids by Cindy Bolin and her husband Brent. They let them raise him and show him, and when it came time to selling him and auctioning him off, he brought $82,000, and he let the kids use it for their college education.
Wow.
Last year, the record was broken for the most expensive Longhorn cow, and she was over $700,000.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
How long do they live?
About 20, 25 years, depending. Our oldest one is Sage. She's 2011. And I'm surprised she's not standing right here, because she's really good on getting snacks. This is Rose. Rose was actually an embryo baby.
Oh, wow.
And she doesn't seem to have a care in the world today.
Not just straws and breeding, in terms of getting new calves too, is science is helping.
It is.
Cool.
Yeah. She will let you pet her and love her. She's a sweet girl.
And her mom's not going to get mad?
No, I don't even know where her mom... Oh, that's her mom right there with her butt to us at the hay ring.
Not even paying attention.
She's snacking.
She's not watching her kids. Oh, sweetie.
Cutie pie.
She's already got little horn nubs. and they're going back, which is really cool.
Do the horns differ from male to female, or does it not really matter?
It really does. So the males will have a more masculine, bigger base, and they'll have a wider forehead as well. She's got pretty big horn base for a younger girl. I think when you're around them enough, you can start seeing the difference real quickly between the males and the females.
Amazing.
Get over the horns on Tsunami. They're so huge.
And pointy.
Like just this really graceful curve, but just like so larger than anything we've seen so far. And we've seen a lot of large horned cattle.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of those points.
Rocking Cheers has the most amount of horn in our field. She's 114 inches total horn.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Which is, we're taking the tape in a string and going along her whole entire horn and getting the total horn so that you can capture the length of the curves and such.
When she turns her head, her horns cover almost her entire body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a cow. Like, cows are already like 6 feet long.
Are they very aware of where their horns are? Do they like knock them into the walls and scratch each other?
No, it's interesting. Like if we left a doorway open and she wanted to go through it, she'd just do this and keep going. She just tilts her head.
Tilt her head and get it through there?
Yeah, so like imagine if you grew up with your arms just sticking straight out, you would figure it out, right? Yeah.
Where can people buy your meat?
We did have an online store set up, but I found that the website and having to keep that up to date and whatnot was very time consuming and expensive. It was about $200 a month to run that, and I was like, that just didn't work because we had enough of a customer base coming here, and then we also have it at a few of the farm stands in the area, and the restaurant Something Special carries it. They have all local food on their menu. But on our website has all of our contact information. People call or email and say, I'd like to pick up this, and we get it ready for them, and they pick it up on their way home from work.
I'll figure this out.
Yay, you got to there. When you changed to Texas Longhorn, what happened to the cattle that you'd had before? It just sold off?
It was all beef animals. So they all processed through the beef program, and we just transitioned. When I tried the Longhorn beef, I was like, literally like, we need to grow this. I was so excited. The flavor is just insane.
Beef. It's what's for dinner.
I'll pick you up in a minute, Grace. So these are the steers that we have right now.
Oh, whoa!
Yep, and these guys were all in New York for the summer, and they came back, well, most of the fall as well. They came back the beginning of November. So they're on grass all the time. And well, in New England, when we lose the grass to the winter, we just put them on hay, and we bale as much of the hay as that we can do ourselves here, and then just buy it locally. But when I was a kid, this was my grandparents' pastures, and it was elevated much higher. So see, it's kind of like we're in this bowl. Yeah. All of that was much higher. They hauled out gravel and such. And so what Guy and I are doing is just bringing back the soil, bringing back the fields and such, and putting the cows back on the land. I love seeing it. When my dad was alive, we were having Thanksgiving dinner, and I said, Dad, it'd be so cool to see cows out there again. He's like, do you know how much work that is? Like, yeah. And then like that week, him and Guy were out buying cows. It was great. So my dad got to see like the first couple of fields, but he didn't get to see the barn, and he didn't get to see all of this.
I bet he'd be real proud of what you've done.
I think he would love it.
It seems like his legacy in some ways. He really
Yeah.
inspired it.
You definitely chose one of the coldest days to be here.
Yeah, I'm feeling it.
This is quite a journey. Probably the most exciting one of these interviews I've been along for.
Yeah, we got to go on a ride in a UTV.
We get to ride in a whole new type of vehicle. Like, I don't think any of us have ever been in one of these before.
We stood face to face with cows that had giant horns that could have gouged us, but they didn't.
The cows out here have generally been friendly. Nothing like my high school experiences. My school had several head of cattle as like equity for the school. I had to cross the prairie to get to the bus stop, and inevitably one of the herd was in my path, and they were just very curious, but I was also alarmed by how fast they ran. And if you run fast, the cow is going to also run fast because they're also curious about you.
Yeah.
So like there were lessons learned.
This ain't Texas.
Find out more about all of the animals at Cody Cattle Company on their website or at buylocalfood.org.
And thanks to Claire Morneau and CISA. Up next, if you're smitten, you might be full of affection or dying. And word nerd Emily Brewster is here to help us understand how you might be both.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Ski Sundown in nearby New Hartford, Connecticut, offering skiing and snowboarding 7 days and nights a week until 10 p.m. Ticket and lesson information at skisundown.com. Winter made better. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by UMass Amherst School of Public Policy, offering graduate programs in public affairs, public policy and administration, data analytics, and computational social science. umass.edu/SPP.
Emily Brewster.
Hello.
Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year.
New Year's Eve. Apostrophe S or S apostrophe? One of the linguistic questions of last week.
How'd you answer it?
It's New Year apostrophe S because it's the year's Eve.
I think so too.
Yes.
Emily Brewster, resident wordster from Merriam-Webster, our dictionary in Springfield, who is going to take a linguistic journey this weekend to something that Khalees and I are very excited about.
And envious of the fact that you're going.
Yeah.
Because it seems like such a fun time.
Where are you going this weekend, Emily Brewster?
I am going to the Linguistic Society of America's annual meeting in Philadelphia to participate in the American Dialect Society's Word of the Year nomination and vote.
It's fun. It's like the Democratic National Convention because everybody gets there and acclaims what they want in a way that's different than the way you did your Word of the Year, the way that Oxford English Dictionary does their Word of the Year and all that, right?
Yeah. It's a lot of nominations have already been made, but people will also be able to make nominations from the floor, and then there will be a vote.
Are you going to make a nomination from the floor?
I will not. I'm there as someone to help with the process.
Oh, so you have an official capacity there.
Quasi-official, I think.
Okay.
I'm just a helper.
Nice. Well, we want a full update about that next week on the show, and we want to hear what you come to terms with as the Word of the Year 2024.
Because the live tweeting about it last year was absolutely hilarious.
But today we're going to talk about smite. Why are we talking about smite, Emily Brewster?
No particular reason. It's a good word. It's a good word, smite, and it has some interesting forms, and it's changed a lot over time. You know, people complain about words that mean, or what are sometimes called contronyms or auto-antonyms or Janus words.
Okay, our agent, like he says, like things are really gonna break as soon as we get our new glossy.
Words that can have two opposite meanings, like cleave and cleave. And, smite, it has a similar dichotomy.
How so?
Originally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this word is ancient. This word comes from an Old English word, smitan. It dates to before the 12th century, so the very earliest years of the English language. It originally meant to smear a substance on something or to stain or defile.
Whoa.
But then after a while, it developed this meaning having to do with strike or attack. And all these kind of expanded. And then, smiting was about striking, hitting, injuring, punishing, afflicting. And then at some point, it came to mean love.
Oh, yeah,
like if I am smitten with someone, I am in love with them.
Right.
Wow, I never connect those things.
Well, I feel like that's a natural progression from the destroying thing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, or the smearing thing.
Oh.
It's a very poetic semantic change, I think, really.
Yes,
right?
Definitely.
You are struck by love.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been smeared like butter over too much bread.
I don't know. Oh, my.
Sam, I'm glad you're with me.
Well, let's chart this course, Emily Brewster, of smite.
Okay. So originally, it had these meanings, beyond the smitan is the word that had the smear and then stain and defile meaning. But earliest meanings of the word smite in English have to do with striking heavily, maybe with an implement. It all has to do with violence. All these terrible meanings. Nobody wants a smiting in the earliest uses of the word. Here is a list of some of the things that people were getting smitten with in books that are written in the first half of the 17th century. Are you ready?
Ready.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, leprosy, death, the plague, blindness, fear, sorrow, remorse, a most stinking and vile disease, ulcers, boils, the sword, fiery darts from heaven, the pox, barrenness, angels, and God's displeasure /hand/scourges, rod, terrible thunderbolts, wrath.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Barrenness angels.
Wow.
There's a comma in there, sorry. You could get smitten with barrenness. You could get smitten by angels.
I see. Barrenness, not a baroness.
No.
Like the Von Trapp.
No.
I really must speak to cook about the Wiener Schnitzel. It is entirely too delicious for my figure.
Or barrenness angels, the angels of barrenness.
Oh, yeah, right. That's a lot to be smitten by.
First half of the 17th century, not a good time to be smitten.
No.
Right? But then, by the mid-17th century, the word starts to take on this other meaning of to captivate or take. And it was most often used in the past participle. That means used with have or be in phrases like smitten by, has been smitten, or was smitten. You know, when I first raised this word, Monty, I think you hadn't thought about smitten by love as being the same thing as, smote by a sword.
Right, or smite.
Right, but they are, in fact, both forms of the verb smite.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the past tense of the verb smite is smote.
Right.
I smite today, yesterday I smote. The past participle form is either smote or smitten. And the word diverged. Now, smitten is always now the more common past participle form, even if it's by the hand of God.
Oh, don't grovel. One thing I can't stand, it's people groveling. Sorry. And don't apologize.
Or by a thunderbolt.
Of course it's a good idea.
You are going to be smitten as opposed to smote in most cases.
I want to be smote by a lightning bolt, but smitten by someone very charming.
Yeah, you can do that. You can
do both of
absolutely
those.
do that.
Not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
But I think it's so interesting that the same word took on these totally different meanings. The semantics of the word changed in this very particular way.
I mean, smote does sound a lot more deadly than
Yeah.
smitten.
I gave up
sounds
smoting
cute.
for 2025. It was one of my New Year's resolutions. I wasn't going to smote anymore.
Smitten kittens.
Oh, yeah.
Pets Alive Smitten Kittens. You can cuddle them and feed them, and they make the cutest kitty sounds. Out now.
Smote is now such an old-fashioned word. It's interesting that the verb smite and the past tense in its simple past tense form with all these older meanings have largely fallen away, but there's some really great examples from the King James Version of the Bible. Would you like to hear any
Oh,
of
yeah,
them?
because a lot of the list that you saying of things in the 16th century that you would have been smote or smitten by, it sounded like you just ripped them right out of the Bible.
Yeah, and the only other place I can think of where I've really heard smote that wasn't a D&D guidebook of some sort is the Bible.
Uh-huh. Which is a D&D guidebook of sorts.
Not really.
No dragons in there.
No.
But what are some of the ones from the King James Bible, Emily Brewster?
Numbers 20:11. And Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice, and the water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and their beasts also.
Is that what they're calling it these days?
1 Samuel 17:50. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and he smote the Philistine and slew him, but there was no sword in the hand of David.
Goliath.
1 Chronicles 13:10. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah, and he smote him because he put his hand to the ark, and there he died before God.
Oh, like the Nazis in Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes.
It definitely evokes that scene.
Don't look at it. Shut your eyes, Mary, and don't look at it no matter what happens.
This is from Acts 12:23. And immediately the angel of the Lord smote him, because he gave not God the glory, and he was eaten of worms.
Whoa.
And gave up the ghost.
Yikes,
Wow.
awesome. I'm glad that there's some New Testament smiting, too.
Is that where that phrase comes from, to give up the ghost?
Yeah, it apparently comes from the Bible. It was used in a few different places in the Bible, but the phrase is first known from our vantage point, from being in the King James Bible.
Give up the
Give up the ghost.
Whoa.
Now, this one was so evocative that I couldn't resist trying to find out who it was that was,
smitten?
Immediately smote by the angel of the Lord, and was eaten of worms and gave up the ghost. It was King Herod, but not the King Herod who, it was the grandson of the King Herod who had all of the male infants under the age of 2 killed when
Right.
Jesus was born in the hopes of killing the Messiah.
And who had that amazing number?
I knew you were
going to
bring
Jesus
this
Christ
up.
Superstar.
So you are the Christ, you're the great Jesus Christ.
But this was a different King Herod. This was his grandson. I mean, the funny thing is that, okay, I went far enough down this rabbit hole. I wanted to know how King Herod, the awful one in the earlier, in the story of when Jesus was a baby, how that King Herod died, because I was sort of disappointed when I found out that this was not this one who was eaten of worms and gave up the ghost. That was actually his grandson. But it turns out that the first King Herod, he probably died of kidney disease that may have been caused by scabies, and there may have been visible worms.
Okay.
Oh.
So it runs in the family.
I guess it runs in the family.
Take him away, he's got nothing to say.
That's so strange. Anyway, then we have the present tense form also in the Bible. Right, we have, if any man hate his neighbor and lie in wait for him and rise up against him and smite him mortally that he die and fleeth into one of these cities, then the elders of his city shall send and fetch him thence and deliver him into the hand of the avenger by blood that he may die.
It's cool that the Avengers are in the Bible.
Assemble.
This is what people are encountering when they encounter the word smite, right? The King James Version of the Bible comes out in the 1600s, and it is the book that many people encounter singly. It is the single book that many, many people encounter. Many of them don't know how to read it, but they hear it spoken. They go to church and they hear these passages from it. The vocabulary that they encounter in the King James Version of the Bible is much of the formal vocabulary that they encounter anywhere. But in the 17th century, we then have these other examples start to appear. So this is the same century that the King James Version of the Bible has come out. We get this example from Walter Montague. Methinks that utmost inns of court I see, young amorists, smitten with Belessa's look, caught by the gills and fastened to your book.
So this is smitten in the lovey-dovey sense?
Yeah. But smitten with love on sweet Jenny he gazed, and begged on his knees that she there would remain.
But
From the amorous gallant of 1655.
But they had to say with love to kind of clarify it, right? Like you were struck with love, as opposed to if they were just smitten, you might have thought that they were just wounded or something.
I mean, is it not a wound?
It is.
Right. But is it mortal? I mean, well, yes.
Yeah, also yes.
I mean, you have to wonder, in the late 17th century, if someone said, "Oh, I am smitten," would those around them have to inquire about which kind of smitten it was?
Right. Did they call
the one that is
authorities
possibly
because of assault?
requited without any kind of damage to anyone?
Or if they just were like, "You seem fine."
Yeah.
Right.
But then you think of Cupid. He literally hits you with an arrow.
Draw back your bow.
Yes, so you are slain and slain.
That hurts.
Straight to my lover's heart.
Right.
You're both smote and smitten.
Yeah. So in the 21st century, if we want to use these words, if you plan on inflicting, dire and retributive punishment on someone, you can say, "I will smite you." But if someone has inflicted dire and retributive punishment on you, you can say that they smote me. But if you're in love, or someone is plaguing you with something, you can say that you have been smitten.
Just to keep it straight for the 21st century.
Keep it in order.
Right. Know thy smite.
Because smite is a spell in D&D, usable by paladins and clerics, because it deals with divine power. I can't believe I'm doing this. I thought that it was one spell, and I think in previous versions it was, but in 5e there are like 6 of them.
The smite spells?
Different smites. There's searing, thunderous, branding, divine, wrathful. They all deal with kind of the same thing, and only people who have access to divine magic can use it.
There's diet smite. Trying to keep to those 2025
drunk by
goals.
NBA players occasionally.
Yeah.
I like the sprite in you.
Khalees, when someone uses a smite, are the other players smote or smitten?
Hopefully only NPCs are smote, but other player characters could become smitten with their abilities.
You don't want to smote your party.
But hopefully not.
He is not only missing his left arm, but his left eye.
That is
dead. Killed by cats.
So it was thought, my friend. So it was thought.
Ah, well, yes, we've hit all levels of nerdery today. I once again want to congratulate whoever your current social media person is. And they were just reviving an old Instagram post or something from 2017 where somebody posted, "It took me 19 years to figure out news stands for notable events, weather, and sports." To which Merriam-Webster just responded, "No." I laughed out loud when I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Then they went on to say in a comment, "News is an old word and the plural of an even older word, new. The earliest known appearance of the noun new in writing to mean that which is new goes back to Old English. The plural noun news first appeared in the 14th century. So it's new information. And that's the news."
Right.
With which we are smitten.
Yeah.
Just news.
And a quick correction. I did say that there were no dragons in the Bible, but according to...
I think I said that, but I'm still wrong.
Yeah. 33 times in the King James Version, dragons are mentioned in the Bible. No. All throughout the whole Bible. Deuteronomy, Jobs, Psalms, Isaiah. I mean, Job. I said Job. That's Steve Jobs. He wrote a book of the Bible, too.
You studied
He
religion.
had the apple in the Garden of Eden. No, but our engineer, Betsy Cordes, Lancto reminded us that in Revelation there is a 7-headed dragon with 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. So there we go. There are
fun.
dragons in the
Extra
King James Bible
There are.
that I'm smitten with.
Are you?
Sure.
Okay, sure.
Why
And
not?
if you've got a question for the word nerd about anything etymological, please send it in to thefab413@nepm.org, and we'll ask on your behalf, because those are the fun questions.
Yeah.
For sure.
On the next Fabulous 413, we're getting a slice of music history with the grandson of cumbia legend Andres Landero, and long considered to be a king of the genre across the world.
Yay, son Landero has been playing music since he was 7, and he'll stop by the studios before you can hear his decades of practice and legacy at the Drake on January 9th.
With a history lesson to boot with DJ Bongo Head about cumbia and the Landero's place in it.
Plus, new year and new chat with Congressman Govern as the inauguration looms.
You can email us a question, thefab413@nepm.org. I'm Monty Belmonte.
I'm Khalees Smith. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Fabulous 413.
Happy birthday, David Bowie.
Yay!